For the final interview in our Palmfest playlist for the Friday night, I've got Paul from Kiss the Tiger, who are going to close Palmfest on Friday night. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to have you here.
No, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Back to City Duplex. I'm thankful for Palmfest for putting Kiss the Tiger on my radar, because you guys are excellent.
Oh, thank you.
And I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to the eponymous record, Kiss the Tiger.
Yeah.
You guys have just been on a short tour.
Yep, that's correct, yeah.
You've been to Milwaukee and Madison.
Milwaukee, Chicago, and then we did another short weekend leg through Stevens Point, Marquette, Michigan, and then Duluth.
You played a show at the Eagles once you got back?
We did, yeah. That was last weekend, so we were that was our welcome back show. Yeah. In a sort of way, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to my first live experience of Kiss the Tiger at Palmer's this coming Friday. We're going to dip into a few of the songs on the album.
Okay.
First of all, though, a bit of background about the band. There's the nucleus, is it fair to say, there's Meghan and Michael.
Correct, yeah. So Meghan Kreidler is our fearless vocalist.
Yeah, that's a good way.
She's kind of the entertainment. She gets the energy up for everyone else in the band, you know. She's amazing singer, amazing performer. She's also a theater person. She does a lot of acting, like theater circuits throughout the Twin Cities, and she actually does some stuff out of town too. So she's very good at that. I've seen her in a couple of plays, and yeah, she is our lead vocalist, and then Michael Anderson is our kind of the brains behind everything. He writes most of the songs. He is the backup vocalist and rhythm guitarist, and he also does a lot of the booking and stuff like that for us too. So he's, I would say, the founder of the band. Okay, great. When did he and Meghan first meet each other, and what was the genesis? Well, I think Michael's always been a very forward-thinking person when it comes to playing music. I mean, he's been doing it for as long as I've known him, and then he met Meghan about maybe two and a half years ago, and then I don't know, within several months of that, they started a band, and I wasn't a founding member. It was 3 other people who are currently not playing with us, but then we got our drummer Jay, who was from Marquette, Michigan, which is one of the reasons why we went to Marquette in the first place, to play a show up there. Okay. And he's the drummer. He's been the drummer for almost 2 years now. And then we actually have a new lead guitarist named Andrew Berg, who we recently acquired back, I would say, in March or February of this year. And then I've been the bassist for a little over a year now. So I joined at the end of May of 2016. So welcome aboard. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah.
So if Meghan and Michael met, say, 2.5 years ago, that must have been around about the time that Meghan was discovering rock music, according to Mike Madden. In the Star Tribune, when you guys were the finalists for the Are You Local competition, there was an interview with Meghan, in which it was revealed that she had found her love of rock music just a couple of years ago. But now, so to quote Mike, now it seems that leading a band is something she was born to do, which clearly it does.
Yeah, I mean, by seeing us play, I mean, the first time I saw them play a few times, I would have assumed she was been doing this for at least 5 years, if not more. Yeah. I mean, I think part of that has to do with her acting background and stuff like that, with the ability to just kind of interact with a crowd and stuff like that. Because I think, in a way, performing music, especially rock and roll, is a performance. I treat it as a performance. Absolutely. You know? Yeah. It's like you can almost take on a different persona when you are on stage versus your day-to-day life outside of playing music. You know, there's a difference between that, and I think she definitely personifies that.
Like Mick Jagger.
Exactly,
walking around his duplex. He probably has something better than a duplex, but he might, who knows. Swagger around like he does.
Yeah, well, we don't know that for sure, but yeah. I mean, she definitely personifies that more than anyone else in the band, but yeah, like I said, I always treated playing music as a type of performance. It's just not the same as acting per se, but it sort of is in a small way, I suppose, you know.
So, were you unaware of how relatively recent her discovery of rock and roll was?
More or less. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
You've been listening to rock and roll for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing music since I was probably in high school. I mean, I learned how to play guitar kind of self-taught, and then I was mainly a lead guitarist playing in different bands, and then I switched to bass about 7 years ago, and that's been my main primary instrument probably since then. That's the majority of what I do, and but I mean, I grew up listening to, like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, like, some of the classics from like the 60s and 70s, and then I feel like my musical tastes have just kind of evolved and branched out since then, and I mean, I don't really like have a niche kind of music I like to play necessarily. I mean, I'm in a band that plays like kind of pseudo country Willie Nelson type stuff.
What's
and
the name
then
of
that one is Fletcher Magellan.
Mm-hmm.
We were currently on a hiatus because our lead singer is in Alaska, but he'll be back in the fall. So yeah, that's a band that another primary band I'm in. But right now, Kiss the Tiger is kind of my main thing right now. And
yeah, understandably.
And the genre is a little bit more towards what I always saw myself as, kind of heavier, like 70s era rock and roll. I mean, we definitely, in terms of genre style, we don't really stick to one thing. I mean, a lot of people have compared us to the Rolling Stones, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of the reasons is because of Meghan's stage presence. We've also been compared
Vocal
to...
delivery, too. I think.
Exactly, yeah. And then I think a lot of certain people have said we are similar to Iggy and the Stooges. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of a punk element. I think part of that might be our drummer, Jay, is a big Ramones fan.
Right.
So and I'm not really a punk person, which is interesting, having a drummer who's more punk influenced versus someone like me who is more kind of blues, rock and roll based.
Do you have a favorite song?
Of ours?
Yes.
I have like a top 4 or so.
All the better. What are your top 4?
Some of them we haven't. Well, I should start off by saying we are in the process of getting our next EP mixed right now, which will be 5 songs, and a couple of those on there have become my favorites. There's a song called Starting to See You, which is very kind of a laid-back, atmospheric type of style. A little bit more on the modern side, but I just love the way it's been sounding. Of ones we have on our previous album, I'd say Beat at Night is probably the most catchy one. I really enjoy that one.
It's really interesting.
Preacher,
too.
I enjoy playing that one as well. That one's got a nice groove to it. Good energy.
Yeah. Okay. Let's focus on those
Yeah.
to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So Beat Tonight is interesting. It has a kind of let it be ethos. It even has the lyric let it be, comma, tonight. But it's got the visceral like immediacy of, say, the Rolling Stones-esque rock and roll.
Yeah.
It's interesting the combination of those two components because it's like there's a pacifism to it, isn't there? Just let it be. Like, I know I'm wrong. I know I've been wrong.
Exactly. I think I haven't dug too deep into the lyrics of that one, but I think it has something to do with, I could be wrong, I could be totally misspeaking, but like sort of a couple or a situation, it doesn't have to necessarily be a romantic situation, of two people who are disagreeing which is the theme of Let It Be in a sort of way.
Yeah.
But don't let it be tonight, meaning like let's put our differences behind us and just kind of enjoy ourselves in the moment, sort of.
Yeah. So let me be tonight and let it be tonight.
Yeah.
The lyrics in the chorus and the first verse sets the scene. Well, I was wrong, you were right. Don't want to talk about it. Don't want to put up a fight.
Yeah, exactly.
So just being able to think, okay.
We have our differences, and I mean, they might even carry over to the next day. But just for tonight, whatever the situation, let's just put those things behind us. And
I just find that really interesting. That's a relatively kind of nuanced kind of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Let It Be comes to mind, partly because of the overlapping.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But there's more fierceness, like suitably with Kiss the Tiger. There's
totally.
More fierceness to this.
Yeah.
Like, really don't bring this up. Okay?
Exactly. Yeah.
as opposed to, a more kind of peaceful. It's like aggressively or assertively calling for a peaceful night.
I think so, and I think that also comes across in the way we play it too. Like, in terms of like me as a bass player, focusing on how I approach the song, I'd play it definitely in terms of my bass playing during the verses, very staccato, very aggressive style, and I think Jay, the drummer, does that the same way,
Yeah.
And I think also Megan's delivery definitely brings that across. Like, it's not being so preachy or like kind of trying to get you to calm down. Let's think about this. It's more of like being assertive and aggressive about it. And like I think that comes across in her delivery as
Yeah,
well. So.
and this is the peaceful attitude is the right one to have.
Exactly.
So you better have it.
Exactly, yeah.
Or else.
Yeah, those are interesting points. I never really thought of it that way before.
Yeah, and I feel like that encapsulates something of the character of the band. Both
I think
like
so, yeah.
the philosophy in terms of like, because rock and roll, like it does. I feel like this music that sounds like this isn't devoid of like ethical content, by which I mean just like there's an attitude towards life in it.
Yeah.
And the way in which like at times the attitude towards life that comes through in the lyrics and the way that these songs sound, at times it's like the attitude that we associate, and at times it's slightly different, like in that song, I think.
Yeah.
And it's interesting what's going on. It struck me as interesting that you said it's not preachy, because we're now going to talk about Preacher.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and Preacher also, it's more reflecting on someone else's act of preaching than preaching, isn't it?
I think it addresses I mean, there definitely is a religious element to that song in the lyrics. Not necessarily addressing Christianity in general. I think it's more of like people who preach, who think they know what's best.
Yeah.
But they might not understand a situation, or I don't know. I think, to be honest, I'm not someone who pays that much attention to lyrics.
Yeah. But that's why I said, like last time, it was interesting to, I had like my little theory about what was going on with the lyrics. And then you kind of reflect, oh yeah, and that fits with how we play it.
Yeah.
And that's like what one hopes for with music, I think. That, the musicians don't necessarily need to be like at home, like writing down the lyrics, analyzing what does this mean, what does this mean.
Yeah.
But there is like some kind of consensus, whether it's even unspoken, and then it just comes through in like in the music. So let's do a similar thing. Watch out for the preacher is the opening lyric. What's your sense of what's it mean to kiss the tiger? What's it mean to watch out for the preacher? These are two interesting, both pretty distinct images.
Yeah.
What does each one mean to you?
Well, I mean, to go back, I think there is a novel called Kiss the Tiger, which is, I don't know, it's from like many years back. Okay. I think that's where we got the band name from. It's a catchy name. It's one of my favorite names of a band that I've been a part of. So, but
this is the DIY green screen just here, by the way. So the front cover of it looks like flowers to us. It's not green, is it? But just here to the viewers, is the front cover of that. Of that novel. If people want to check out the novel, see how the novel compares.
Yeah.
Then they can.
I've never read the book before. Maybe I should though. But
has Michael?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But
okay. But just there's an interesting juxtaposition there, obviously, of kissing and of tiger.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, off the top of my head, what I think that could mean is the tiger represents maybe something you're afraid of, because tigers are fierce animals, which are usually, if you go to a zoo, stay away from the tiger, But I think I could interpret it as a way of like, sort of embracing the things that you might be afraid of, which actually, like, I don't know, might make you stronger, or like it's almost a way of like addressing your fears head on, and like almost kissing as a way of like giving love to something. Like,
interesting. Like
avoid your fears or your like anxieties or something that you might be afraid of, but you feel you need to do. For example, like, I don't know. I think, trying to think of a good way to explain this. It's just like embracing your fears and addressing them straight on, but with love. Yeah. More so instead of like being aggressive towards it, or
absolutely.
I don't know. That's an interpretation that I just kind of came up with.
Oh, that makes complete sense to me, though. It's interesting that you said embrace the thing that seems dangerous, and you find that it
isn't as dangerous as you thought it was, and might actually end up making you a stronger, more confident individual.
Yeah, and then at the opposite end of the spectrum, with preacher, watch out for the preacher.
Yeah.
Do not embrace. There's, we'll get a sense of the character of the preacher as we focus a bit more on the song.
Yeah.
But this is someone who, on the basic level, is claiming to have all the answers.
Right.
He works for Jesus Christ, he says.
Yeah.
Yeah. So someone who
probably doesn't.
Yes.
And like he just says he does. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with kind of an ethical thing of people trying to represent a religion who are just doing it for their own gain to have power over people, for example, you know.
Yeah, we feel like, so life is scary sometimes. We feel like we want answers.
Right.
Someone comes along that claims to have the answers.
Exactly,
and it's if we put, it's especially given your impromptu explanation of the band name.
Yeah.
If we put these two things together, the tiger seems scary. Okay.
Yeah.
The tiger isn't scary. The tiger can help you grow. Kiss it.
Mm-hmm.
The preacher seems like the thing that you want to embrace.
Exactly,
but don't.
Don't, yeah. Be wary of someone
who
who thinks they have all the answers. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So how does that come? This I like the fuzz guitar. I feel like, is that right? There's some fuzz guitar.
There is fuzz guitar, yeah. I mean, those songs were recorded with our previous guitar player, who was more of a, I think, stylistically similar to a Jimi Hendrix, for example. While our newest guitarist, I mean, he has a bit of a different playing style. He's a little bit more, I don't know how to compare, more of a Joe Walsh, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty versatile as well, but yeah, I think the song in general has an aggressive tone to it. Even more so than Beat at Night, I think. Just based on like how I play it and just the tempo, it's a little bit more, you know, straightforward.
Yeah.
That sort of rhythm to it.
Which fits with the sense of real danger.
It does.
Like,
I mean, it's a very, like take caution sort of just...
If before what we're avoiding is like an annoying continuation of conflict into a night that we'd rather just enjoy, then in this case, it's a more existential threat, I think.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of references to the night, which is throughout the record, which is suitable, I think, for obviously a rock and roll band, especially one that's playing at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly, yeah.
Which you are at Palmfest.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, most rock and roll groups, I mean, do most of the shows at night, and I think referencing the night, I think that's always been sort of a cliche or lyrical content of rock and roll. You know, like the most interesting things happen in the evening hours or beyond the evening hours. So
yeah, at Palm as well.
We have several other songs that reference that too, by the way.
So beyond this.
Yeah, The Night Is Killing You is another one.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
The Night Is Killing You. What does that song? That's got some interesting brass on it, hasn't it? Like
that one
on the record.
Well, that to be honest, that one was an old recording that I don't think anyone other than Michael was involved with back in like 2009. But we just put it on the album to fill it out, to have it come to the amount. I think there's like 8 total songs on the album.
There's 9.
There's 9. Okay, well.
Even better.
I was close, yeah. So, but I think that one, but we still perform that. Actually, we will be.
Meghan does vocals on it, though.
She doesn't. She now does pretty much all the lead vocals now.
Yeah.
She's become the full-time lead vocalist. But we are performing that one now in our current lineup, and it sounds quite a bit different. I mean, it's the same lyrics for the most part and same chord changes and everything, but just the rhythm quality to it, or the style is a little bit different. I mean, it's got more of a swing to it, which as a bass player, I love that, you know?
Yeah. So we'll see by the end of the night if you can still stand. Is that how
I think lyrically that one has to do with just, I mean, it could be someone just who's partying too much through the night and is just not being a responsible individual, but it could also be a metaphor for, like, the night could be a metaphor for just this person's life, or just the way they've been going about their business in a negative way, how it's coming back to them. It's going to kill them eventually. Maybe not actually kill them and them actually being no longer existing, but just killing them inside more.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that song can be interpreted many different ways.
Yeah, because metaphorically you'll realize you're surrounded by dark.
Exactly.
And, you know, you don't have any heart.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be this metaphorical night, but also there could be like the end.
The actual night. You could take it so literally, where it's like, yeah, this person's just been drinking all night and.
Or all day.
Or all day.
If they've been at Palmfest all day.
Exactly.
So, so what do you think I feel like the night has an interesting role to play in the record. It's not just one thing. As even in this one song, we're recognizing the night is not just one thing. Mm-hmm. And it seems like part of kissing the tiger, you can kiss the tiger at night.
Oh, totally,
Yeah, so that's the night on the one hand with the rock and roll conventions, as you were saying, is this place where exciting things happen, transformation can occur, but at the same time, it's also conventionally represented as like a potentially dangerous place where you can lose yourself.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, it also might have something to do with, like, I just thought of this, people who might be looking for success in, like, places such as New York, London, Los Angeles, the big city, where they're like, oh, I'm going to make it here. And they get caught up in the scene so much more than, like, whether it's drugs, sex, money, selling themselves and, like, selling out, for example, doing something that they didn't want to do in their heart, but they're doing it for the money purposes just to get by. That might be another metaphor, too, like spending too much time in a city, like, let's say Los Angeles, for example, where you sell your soul to just make money, and you're trying to sell yourself so much where it ends up destroying who you actually are inside.
Yeah.
That's a way of looking at that too, I think.
There's the song immediately after The Night Is Killing You on the record is called Booty Call.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's interesting that most of these songs, there is an interesting nuance to them, because Booty Call is about trying to not have a booty call.
Exactly, yeah.
Being called, like, one's booty is called and one is reluctant.
Exactly, yeah.
What should I? It'll be all right if I just stay home. It'll be all right if I don't look at my phone.
Yeah.
That's just something that I like about, like, the ethos, and it comes through sonically. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as interesting to talk about if it was just in the lyrics. But but I think in terms of, like, the ethos of the band, there is this "the night is calling" kind of thing, but then there's as much of a beware of the night as there is a beware of the preacher.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting stance, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, yeah, like Booty Call, for example, I think I've been in situations where you're like, it's like any kind of temptation where you're like, it's not, in the long run, it's not going to help you out, but it's just fulfilling, very urgent needs, whether it be, sexual or anything else. I mean, it could be, this specific song, it is sexual, but it could be like drugs or alcohol or like pursuing something that in the short term will give you pleasure, but in the long term it's just not gonna fulfill you in the way it should. Also,
I think there's a concern in this song for the well-being of the caller, of the person who's claiming.
Yeah.
So they call on the phone saying that they're scared and they feel alone, saying that all they need is a body to lay.
Yeah.
There's not, you won't have to say anything. So this is what is being claimed, but there's I sense a kind of concern about the authenticity of that, and like, is this really? Would it be good for me to give this person what they want?
Exactly.
Just like we don't, with the words of the preacher, for a very different reason.
Yeah.
But there's an interesting kind of circumspect.
It's also like fulfilling the needs of someone who that's all they need is a body to lay, not like a person to spend time with. It's just more of the physical act versus the actually being with someone you care about. It's not it seems to be neglecting any kind of like any interpersonal connections.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So how crucial do you think is a celebration of a certain type of interpersonal connection to the band? Because bands, obviously, a well-functioning band is the product of a bunch of established interpersonal connections, like the band members.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So is that being celebrated in the songs and maybe in the music as well? You're talking about working on a new EP and like how it's evolving. Like, let's just focus on playing together and what that means.
Well, to me, one of my favorite things in the world is playing in front of people and playing in a group of musicians where there's just this, like, you can't even put it into words, the connection you're making, whether it be like you're all on the same page musically. And, like, I've played many shows like that where it just seems to click all at once. Yeah. And this band especially, I feel like we've had shows like that where it's just, and part of that is just Meghan as our lead vocalist kind of bringing the energy up. There are sometimes nights, like especially when we were on our tour, like where we were just kind of like, the energy level wasn't quite where we wanted it to be, but I feel like once you're on stage and she kind of sets the tone with her vocal and just like stage delivery, I think that you can't help but bring your energy up
Right.
as well.
So on the tour, like between shows,
Yeah.
like driving around
Yeah,
and
uh-huh.
having all of the stress,
Yeah.
like you feel depleted, of course.
Yeah.
But you're saying like once the show starts and you have Meghan fronting it, then that's all out the window.
I think so. I mean, for the most part, I think it wasn't as stressful, as exhausting as we thought. I mean, I think we're all good company, and we're easy to get along with. And
You let
for
it
the
be.
most part, exactly. I
Doesn't
mean, there's
conflict.
always there were several, I would say, disagreements / trying moments between couple of specific people, myself probably included.
Right.
Which, I mean, that's just bound to happen when you're all cooped up in the same vehicle for hours on end. But
just
for the
rock and
most
roll.
part, I mean, I feel like there was a lot more bonding that happened
Yeah.
versus just kind of disagreements or stressful situations. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and I think that, I mean, when you do band, I should say, when you bond via like a van ride to your next gig,
Mm-hmm.
I think that definitely translates in the performance as well. Like, you just sort of, the more time you spend with people, you just kind of connect on a musical level too. And I think I don't know if there's science behind that or not, but you just sort of,
It's personal
there's more of a,
experience
personal
behind it.
experience, and there's like this nuance on stage where you're like, you know when the change is going to happen, even though you didn't really talk about it beforehand.
Yeah.
You just kind of feel it out. And I think that's the fact of like just playing together and playing these songs so many times.
Yeah.
I mean, by the end of our last night in Duluth, we were super tight, and we just plowed through our set, and it was like nothing, you know?
Yeah. I feel like there is something beautiful about like the way in which bands come to function.
Oh yeah, totally.
And the fact that is isn't entirely separable from just people or friendships.
Exactly,
blossoming.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's just that's I think part of what rock and roll
Mm-hmm.
can do.
Oh, totally, yeah.
People associate it with this sinful activity, drinking, nighttime,
Right,
but at
yeah.
the same time, the camaraderie and the functioning as a creative unit and the flow and the sharing of that with an audience, it just seems significant.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I've described this as like a circular energy sort of thing when you're playing to a large crowd and they're feeling it, like they're really engaged. And then they feed the energy you're giving them back to you.
Yeah.
And you, by turn, take that energy and play better, play with more energy, and then that goes back to them. It's just like this circular cycle it's one of the most beautiful things in the world, I think. I don't know. As a musician, it's just like, there's nothing like it.
Yeah. And it's, wonderful. So, so the record has an interesting cast of characters. There's a preacher, there's, the person calling on the phone. There's a girl that never had a chance.
Girl who never had a chance, yeah.
Yeah, she seems crucial, but again, like the address to her, the non-preachy address to her, is essentially just teach yourself how to survive.
Exactly.
We have this idea of being in the jungle. Teach yourself how to survive. Maybe it's kissing the tiger.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like doing these things, but also be aware there is some truth to the tiger being dangerous.
Oh,
there is some
totally,
truth to
you can't
the
just
night being dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So, but I feel that we've got ourselves in a good headspace to enjoy Palmfest.
Oh, excellent! Yeah.
When we're there, we can be conscious of being part of that circular.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
energy.
totally. Yeah. I think at 1 a.m, there'll be people feeling it. I think there'll be people feeling it a little too much who have been out all day, but
Yeah. Well, but they're yet to encounter Meghan.
that's true. Yeah.
If
they
she
have
can
yet
transform the tired
Exactly.
tour bus inhabitants, then
Right.
she can certainly liven up the spirits of the Palmer's crowd.
Uh-huh.
So thank you very much for
Thank you. Yeah.
for joining me today.
Absolutely.
Thanks all the more for doing what you do with Kiss the Tiger. I look forward to hopefully talking about the new EP with the full band if you want to come back.
Oh, we would
when
love
when
to come
comes
back.
out.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, some partying at Palmer's.
All right. I can't wait.
Yeah.
We'll see you there.
Yep. See
Thank
there.
you,
Listen,
yeah.
Thanks very much for making it to the end of the playlist. All of the bands on the Friday night. There are a couple on Saturday that I've interviewed, including SAS and the Gated Community. So check that playlist out too. I've been Simon Calder. This is Back to the City. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you.